Hello, hello, hello. So, thought I'd come on the 9th of the 9th at 9:09. Depending on your clock, it's pretty accurate or not. Going to talk about the flea in the jar and how we're escaping and moving out, those who are able. Hi everyone, this is a surprise one tonight. Let me just see where we are. Some people are not, well, you will get the wave, but it just doesn't click it out. I've just been running. I think it's 9:09, 9:09, and I thought no, 9:09 will be 9:09 wherever I want it to be in the field. So chill. It's a nice little evening one. Hi Sarah Elizabeth. Hi Bethy, Anne, Jill, Gwen, Hannah, Sarah Elizabeth, another Hannah. Oh, the Unspoken Truth joined. Hi. So, I don't know, well, quite a lot of you have seen the post on the flea in the jar. The flea in the jar is something that stuck in my mind many years ago. And the thing is, when things stick in your mind that come with such a powerful message, we automatically are able to tune into the authenticity of that message. And the younger we are, the more powerful it is for us. However, I don't mean to say just because you've missed it or passed it, it's not going to have an effect. It does. Just the difference is that you've got to unravel more to find the authenticity, because there's been a lot of what can I call it, binding, a bit like the spider and the fly, that's been secretly putting this web and this veil around us, while also the while making us believe that it's for our benefit. So I did mention in that post with the flea in the jar that there was something else that was profound that flicked my switch at a very young age, and that was when I was 18. So we're going back many moons, many moons ago. But I'm glad it flipped my switch at a young age, because even though I didn't know what to do with that flicking of the switch at the time, and rest assured, I think everybody on here, out there, have had your lights switched on. It's just that you not knowing what it's showing you. Does that make sense? And so we go about our daily business. But when I was 18, I watched this film, and to be honest with you, I didn't realise I was only 18 until I dated it back to when the film came out, because I remember watching it when it first came out. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I was only 18. And it was called Midnight Express. And basically, my hair's stuck in the plant. This is my beautiful plant. And basically, the film wasn't really a film that I would probably even entertain today, thinking about it, I don't think. Because of the title wouldn't have gripped me. But for some reason I watched it, and now I know why. But basically, it was just about a drug dealer. Well, no, he wasn't, tell a lie. He was caught smuggling drugs. Somebody had asked him to take these drugs, and he did it. Whatever, that's not the story where I'm getting to. But no matter what, he was caught out in another country, and he was imprisoned. And basically, the country was one of these countries that are very, very strict. And at the time, it was based on a true story, this, by the way. And he was kind of imprisoned for life. And I think it was something, well, a small packet. It wasn't like he was smuggling a whole kind of acreage of these drugs. It was a small packet. I don't know, like nowadays they would class it as a personal use. But nevertheless, he got imprisoned. And I remember thinking, oh, he'll get out, he'll get out, whatever. They'll let him free, and they didn't. They kept him in there. But the profound thing that stuck in my mind, hence the reason I can't really go through all the whole story, but the thing that stuck in my mind was the prisoners every day used to walk in a circle, just walking round and round and round. Now, I think they were walking around clockwise, if I remember. I think they were walking around clockwise, and they were walking around every day. They just did this routine. They got up, they walked around whilst they waited for their food. They just all walked together, and they were all chained, because it's like one of these really old prisons that you see in the movies, and they were all chained. So they all just kept walking round and round and round, and he was doing it. He started doing it. He just kept walking round and round and round, and then he must have had this light bulb moment, and he decided to walk the opposite way. Well, the prisoners were absolutely, they just couldn't get over the fact that he was walking the opposite way. It disturbed them. It really disturbed them that he was now walking around the opposite way. They didn't feel like they could function properly. And when he started walking around the other way, he changed. From now I can see what he was doing. At the time I just thought, that's a good idea. I think I'll probably do that. I'm a bit odd. I always go the opposite way because that's my thing. But I never knew why I did it. And the thing is, he was doing it because going that way all the time, following what everybody else was doing, following, they in their vibration, in that circuit of that movement, that energy of the like-minded all going round, believing that that's their life. This is what we have to do. We just have to go around in this circle. The food will come. We'll have our food. We'll do this. And that's going to be where we are for the rest of our life. He was not into that. His energy wasn't going to be like that. He wanted to get out. And I think, if I remember rightly, he'd tried a few times to escape to no avail. But at this particular time, he decided to walk round the other way. And he started to walk round the other way, he ended up being freed. Don't ask me how, I can't remember. But I just remember thinking, why did that happen at the time? And I remember thinking, well, I do the opposite all the time, and I always seem to get myself out of these scrapes because I'm a rebellious little woman, or little girl at the time, was quite rebellious. And I used to always get myself in or out quite quickly without causing anybody harm or myself any damage. That's why I always say I was an observer, experienced few things, but got myself out as quickly as I possibly could because I did the opposite. I didn't do what was expected. I didn't do what everybody else did. If I saw friends and people doing stuff that I thought, well, you're now going beyond where it's a bit too much now, I would never do that. I walked away or went in a different direction. And so I was kind of observational and watched their consequences, and I'm thinking, I'm glad I didn't do that. But that was so powerful for me at such a young age to see that film, that, just doing something completely the opposite changed his life in a way that he never believed would ever be able to change his life. So the moral of that story is, we need to do the opposite of what we're being shown. We do. You have to do the opposite if you want to be free. If you want to escape this energy. The flea in the jars had no choice. The lid was on, and when they took the lid off, they were programmed. They were beaten in the head. And I think for me, looking at that as well, that story with the flea, or not a story, it's a real true thing. It's an experiment. They were hitting their head constantly on this lid. And I'm thinking, if it's the size of a flea, bless it, hitting its head on this tin lid, it's going to hurt, isn't it? Give it a headache. But I'm thinking, sod that for a game of soldiers. And I suppose it damaged parts of their tiny little brains, it damaged it. And that's like what's happening to the population. The minds have been damaged because although there's no lid anymore, it's the lid technically wasn't a lid anyway, but the controlling energy that was suppressing, that was holding down, was only holding down enough until it produced what these fleas did, a genetic code passed down from child to child to child to child. So they didn't really need to do it anymore. So technically it was the main fleas, parents, going back from whenever, that were under that kind of work pressure, giving her headache. And when you look back into the history of the torturous things that was done to civilization back in them days, you can see how, you know, they've been produced. They've produced, you know, children who have got that kind of easily programmable mind, because the connection somehow gets passed down from womb, which we know children can hear things in the womb, and, you know, babies can hear things in the womb, I should say, and sounds. And we do know that, you know, you can get a download from your parents into your kind of your being before you even come onto this planet, which is what I cover in the blueprints, you know, which is why I say, you know, most of the stuff that's going on in your life right now does not belong to you. It belongs from a path from way past before you were even born. The good news is we're not fleas. Well, I'm not a flea. Are you a flea? We're not fleas. So technically, it's just the kind of, you can see what's being done, but we are not fleas. We are superhumans. So we would never really need to ever experience staying in that jar. We just wouldn't need to. Are there some people that will not get this? Yeah, there are. They're the ones that will be the fleas that are in the jar, that have been genetically programmed and not been able to get out of that. And that's why I say it's so important. I've had messages galore lately on the kind of disappointment, the anger, the frustration of people's families, and they can't seem to get them to change their mind. No, you can't. You can't do that. And the reason is because the programming's too set in, and they didn't actually come here to experience what you're going to experience the freedom, to experience life in a way that you've never experienced before. And so we have to get to that place where you don't kind of, you know, buy into it. You go into that energy, so you become like the prisoner. You go into their energy, trying to get them to see your point of view. When you're outnumbered, you belong in the prison energy. You're never going to get out of it, and it will hook you in. You wonder why you can't get out of things, because it's going to hook you in there. You change your course and allow people to be and do what they feel their beliefs are. You just move and walk the other way, do the opposite. They'll either follow you because they're thinking, well, have you done that? That looks freer, and they will shift. Or they will just go on and carry on doing what they need to do and be what they need to be, and they will have a reset at some point. You know, we're all going to be reset at some point, but some of us will be reset in a different way than others, you know. Sort of the deep thing which goes on in the retreat, those kind of conversations. But really and truly, what we're looking at is to really start to think about the information that we are privy to right now, you know, the information that we are privy to. Hi Julie, hi Lorraine, hi Emma. And when we start looking at the information that we're privy to, we can then start to use our mind and start to begin to analyse what's going on, start to put the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together, and start to make our preparation. So the other thing, this is quite a week really, because there's lots of signs that have come up that have really took me back into, wow, way back to when I first started. And my gosh, it was like when I first started, it was like, oh my God, I can't tell people what I know. Oh no. And now it's such a happy place because most people are getting to know it now anyway, but it does take me back to that memory, thinking, my gosh, this isn't real, is it? This can't be true. But when I saw the fly and the spider, that again gave me another this thing, thinking, yeah, look, you've got a spider there that isn't necessarily a big fat juicy spider. It was kind of long-legged, but it had it was quite a dainty little spider, and the fly was quite a strongish looking fly. But I did see that fly come into the van, into the camper van. I saw it, and I just thought, oh, anyway, but I thought the doors are open, it will fly back out again, but it looked like one of those flying ants. But the next minute when I glanced over, and I didn't even see the spider, I didn't see that spider, how it hooked it. Because I'm thinking, how the heck did that spider get it? It must have just senses. It must have known that it could get this fly. So it must have hooked its web out for somehow and captured it, and or the fly had gone into the area where the spider was. And so, but I could see this fly. If you saw the video, and I will put that up at some point on my YouTube channel because it was fascinating. But I could see the spider winding this web around it, so it must have got it enough so that the fly couldn't move, which is a bit like us. We get caught just enough so we can't really move, but we're alive and we're kicking and we're still, you know, going through the process. And this fly was doing that. The dilemma for me was, a spider wants to eat, but a fly wants to be free. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, now what do you do? Because it's nature, isn't it? It's nature. And I'm not looking at it anymore as a fly and a spider. I'm looking at as in reality, as transferring that energy into us as beings, and how we get caught up in a web, and how we can be eaten alive, you know. And I'm thinking, what is it that sets us free? So as I'm looking at this, I am actually subconsciously willing the fly to get out. Number one, I didn't want to sit and watch something die in front of me. I didn't really fancy doing that. I know it's only a fly, but it's a living being, isn't it? I didn't really want to sit and watch that. So in my subconscious, I'm thinking, come on, fly, you may be stuck in that web, but I think you can get out. You know, I think you can get out. And the spider, if you do that as you're living, you can do it, but not while I'm watching. Do you see what I mean? Because I didn't want to deprive the spider, and I'm thinking, you can go and get some food, but I don't really want to watch you slowly kill this fly, really. I'm a bit sad like this. But anyway, so I was willing it, and lo and behold, I do not know, because that spider was working its magic. It was spinning it and spinning it and spinning it, and you could see the fly doing all this and getting all tightened up. And the next minute, they had a little tussle, which you didn't see. They had a little tussle, and I'm thinking, who's biting who there? They had a little tussle, but then the spider shot up the web as if it was watching. But the next minute, the fly escaped. It got out of the web. Well, I was blown away, because I'm thinking, how on earth did you get out of there? But what that did then, that transferred knowledge to me, was will. The fly had the will. The spider didn't really have enough will to keep it. And whether I intercepted and gave the fly a little bit more energy than the spider, I don't know, who knows. But that was quite, you don't really see that. Once the fly's caught in a web, they're very rare. That's it, isn't it? Dinner. You know. But I did find it quite amazing that the fly actually decided it wanted to live. And so it was a bit dazed, it lost its wing, and as you saw, those of you who saw it, I took it and put it on some paper, and I put it into the earth to go and see if it can find a family who, because it's now not a flying ant, it's going to be an ant that can't fly. Unless they can grow wings, I don't know, because I don't really go into that much of it all. But it was very, very interesting to see the will, and that is just us. We have a will. You can be caught up, hi John, you can be caught up in a web, you know, of everything. Hi Kales, of all the stuff that's going on. You can be caught up in that web. You can sit there and allow a web to be spun around you, or you can think, sod off. No. No. And I have that attitude, you see. I just go, no. And I had a friend, colleague, chatting to me the other day. I've had a few, and one again this evening. And they're kind of in the profession of well-being industry, but they're still being caught up with this stuff that's going on out there, and I can't get my head around that, because they're in the natural world. They're in the natural world of well-being, helping people who want to be in the natural world of well-being, but they're still being caught up in this three-dimensional charade, okay? But I am not. No. And now I can hear it's coming out, because when I get that into that space, my will just comes shooting right up, and it will not tolerate it. No. And when I'm talking to them and they're saying, yes, but, you know, I've got this thing, and I was, you know, the TESTED, and I'm thinking, but why? Why are you doing that? For a cold or a flu? Because where's the cold and flu gone? We've had colds and flus back from the time we've had cold and flus. We've always had a cold and a flu. We get the summer flu. You know, we get a summer cold. We get the winters. We always have them. No one's talking about having one of those anymore. So when you get the sniffles or the cold, what's that got to do with the price of fish of TESTED? Why? Why do you want to label it as that when it's not? It's a cold and a flu. Because what's happening now, you're going into that vibration. And I'm like this on the phone. I'm thinking, why are you doing it? And I will not tolerate that. If I get a sniffle, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to get a sniffle, but I will guarantee you, as true as I sit here, it will be a cold. A cold. But to be honest with you, since everyone's been going around like that, I've not even had a cold. It is keeping the germs away, I suppose. But I will not tolerate, I will not accept that it will be anything else but that. And that's just me. I'm telling you now. And I'll refuse, absolutely refuse to accept this strange, weird energy that is doing nothing but trying to put a web around you and convince you that you're a flea in the jar, that you are trapped in this web and you're not going to get out. No. I'll be the ant and I'll be the fleas. If you saw that video, the fleas that just got, before that lid came on, they were out of there, you know. So the moral of this live tonight really is you have to find your will. You have to find your will, because we're in a World War III right now. And you can go and be that fly or the flea, but I'm telling you now, if you don't find your will, you will be captured. You have a choice, because the planets and the energy, because again, I'm working of this with really a science, and basically the sacred geometry, which is what I use within the blueprint, which is how it's so powerful and so profoundly accurate, is because I'm working with the very source of how we were created. The exact same source. That's what I'm working with. And that's why I know. That's why I'm saying, well, no, because I can switch a timeline. I can switch my mindset. Will I still have experiences? Yes, I will. I signed up for that when I came. I will have experiences that aren't going to be always that great. Of course I will. Will I get out of them like the fly? Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I flipping will. I will. That is the key, the will. You have to find that. We've all got it right inside of your very, very core. You have it. And don't allow anyone to take that away from you. Just do not, you know. We have it. It's just, if you're listening to it, it's this repetition. This is why they've got the tannoys going all the time. This is why they've got the signs there all the time. Because they know webs, that's the spider's web. Every time a tannoy comes, round you. Every time you see a sign, round you. What do? Get out of my way. Move out of my way. Not interested. So if the tannoy says go that way, I'm going the opposite way. I am doing it. I'm going to do it. I'm not getting caught in those webs. Absolutely not. It's not happening. Not happening. Not in my life. This is my journey. I'll own it and I will take it. I'll be respectful of the people who choose. Don't need to bother coming around me. Don't worry. I will be respectful, but I will still do my journey, because I will not hurt anybody else. Okay, and this is the thing, you can do the same. And you then tend to zone out, you switch off, you tune into a different vibrational frequency, and you do stop seeing those people at the end of the day. You do. You may see them, but you won't see them enough to affect you in your life. They just don't, because how can they? They're not on your radio station. They're not in your frequency. But in that interim, on that crossover, you do have to be a little bit more, the will has to come. That will has to come right through. You've got to feel that will come right through and go, absolutely no. Another story was when I read the book, Think and Grow Rich, and the little girl, same thing. I resonate with that, you see, because I've always had my will. I've never allowed anyone to take that away from me. You know, I probably was one of those fleas, like I said, that belongs to the flea that jumped out. I wasn't programmable, you know, to that degree. We are all programmable to a level, but not to the level where we can't escape. And this cycle where we are right now, we're in the cycle of, it is movement. It is kind of chaos. It is a bit of destruction going on, well, a lot of destruction, but it's also high intelligence. It's also high intuition. It's also being able to think out of the box. It's also allowing you to be inventive and creative. So as much as you've got that side of it, you can tune into the reactive energy, which is going to be all chaos and you know, taking you on a journey, because it's all about movement, to moving you. This is where we are. This year is all about movement. In fact, it's here for 9 years. It's here for 9 years, and I'll go into when it started, but we've got plenty of time to prepare, which is what I'm doing with the people in the retreat, preparing. There is time, but you have to start preparing, because if you don't prepare, like the story I told you about the queues, when the people were saying, are we ready, and they ended up queuing, so no, we'll come back, I haven't got what I need. By the time they got there, the gates were opened and people had gone through, and it was closed again, so they were too late. You're looking at your life right now. Are you really, really happy with where you are? Are you wondering how you're going to get out of where you are? There's all these questions that if you can't answer them, find a space and a place where you can figure that answer out, and you can find the answers on a trail, on a frequency, because it is all vibrations, it is all frequencies, and the outcomes that you get will determine what you've tuned into. So it really, really is a time now to just say no. They've been caught out. You know, we've got it. We can't. And the thing is, once you see what's gone on, and you can't, you know, turn back that, you can't unsee it. See what I mean? Once you've seen it, and then you become, if you ignore what you've seen, then you know, really, no one can help you there, because you've ignored it. You've actually seen it. You've been given the information. You've not much, you know, you've had an ability to make a choice. And if you're still not from that, then, you know, what can we say? What can we say? It's nobody's job to make you do things. It's nobody's job to do that. People are around just bringing in information and helping you and doing what the best they can. Hi, Julie. You know, we're just helping you here based on the information and the advice and the research and the millions of years and of ancestral knowledge that's coming through, you know. But it is a time where, honestly, we are moving to the most spectacular, wonderful, beautiful space. We've just got to unhook, unplug, and move forward, and just don't look back. Don't look back. Those who are supposed to go, you will see them. But at this moment, it's your journey to go. It's me. When I do me, you can then be at the other side and help people come across, you know. But you can't if you've not reached that space yourself yet. So it's do you right now. Just do you, and then you get your strength, and you can build up all the stuff. You'll know the route. You can guide people and you know, help them. You can't take people to somewhere. You can only guide them, because they've still got their own path. Everybody's got their own path. Who will all end up in a space where we're meant to be, but we'll all go there in a different way, on a different path, because there's things we've got to learn and experience before you can get to where you want to go. And you've got to clean through that and clear through that, because there's stuff that we've come here to experience at the same time. So there we go. So there's a few little things in there, some little nuggets. And sometimes when I say things, if you can switch in, because like I'm on a live here, there's not much I can do when I really want to talk. So I'm always kind of being mindful of what I actually say. I'm not in the retreat. There'll be people on here who know that I'm completely different, as in, I just go for it, you know. Here I'm cautious, as I've said this many times before. But still, I need to give as much information as I possibly can to try and help you figure this out. Oh my gosh, once you know, well, all I can say is you're in for a big surprise once you know. And it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. In fact, it's quite, You do get amused with it. You do. There's a lot of sorrow on the journey to it. Once you really truly know, you can play that game to your best advantage and get yourself free and enjoy it whilst you're doing it. So, on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you and say thank you so much for joining tonight. Watch the replay for those who've come on a little bit later. Don't forget to come over to my YouTube. You can subscribe on my YouTube channel. There's lots of stuff going to be going on in there soon. I'm going to revamp everything. And like I said, as always, if you want to come in the retreat, just get in touch with me with that one. And anybody who wants the blueprint reading, get in touch as well, because I've had quite a lot booked in already this month, and it's mind-blowing. That's there, the feedback I'm getting, because it is something it's here now. This is what's been waiting for the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle. It's here for people to tap into the truth, and then you can navigate. Once you've got that, you've set it, you've got it, it's yours. You can move, because now you're going to be using your own tools and not somebody else's. So there we go. Thank you so much for watching, for joining, and I will catch you all soon. Have a fantastic evening, and bye for now.